Hello viewers and welcome to another match of Warhammer 40,000 Conquest. My name is Mitch and I am the Hive Tyrant. Today, April 26th, marks the 30th anniversary of my birth, and what better way to celebrate than with another Necrons faction preview match. At the bottom of our screen we have Nahumekh, played by Guy Lev, and at the top we instead see Old Zogwort, run by Parker Ince. Our players are currently deciding whether or not they want to keep their opening hands. It looks like Parker decided to keep his opening 7 cards, and Guy instead decided to ditch. So, let's first assess Nahumekh. He was our first fully spoiled Necron Warlord. He's a 2/6, and his entire premise is kind of centered around allying with as many different factions as is possible. His reaction is that when the combat phase begins, a target army unit at his planet gets minus X HP until the end of the phase, where X is the number of non-Necron factions among units you control. So at the moment, he's got a Space Marine in hand. As soon as that hits the tabletop at the beginning of combat, an enemy unit can get minus 1 HP. If he dumps an Orc onto the table as well during a subsequent round, that'll be minus 2 HP, and if you let your opponent accumulate a lot of different non-Necron factions, then things can go all the way bad pretty quickly. But for Parker, looks like his opening deploy was throwing out a copy of his signature attachment, Weird Boy Stick. So its reaction is after a Snotlings token is destroyed, you exhaust it, and you generate a Snotlings token at whatever planet you'd like. Those tokens are 1/1 runts, in case you're not used to seeing them, and Zogwort himself is of course a 1/7 warlord. When he's commit to a planet and every time he's declared an attacker, you generate a Snotlings token at his planet. But we're here for the Necrons, and we can see at planet number 2 we've got one of the signature army units for Nahumekh. It is the Destroyer Cultist. It's a 3-cost 1 command icon 1/4, but it gets +1 attack for each non-Necron faction among units you control. So as soon as the Imperial Fist Siege Force hits the table at all, if it does, then the Cultist will be attacking for 2, and if by some miracle you end up getting a total of 7 different factions on the table, the Cultist could be attacking for 8. Note that the Necron player at the beginning of the deploy phase has to choose what faction they want to enslave. So once we actually see Legions of Death released, we'll have an enslavement dial, but for the moment we're making do with just in our chat log here, Guy indicates that he's currently enslaving Space Marines, so he can deploy and put into play any Space Marines faction units, but no non-Necron, non-neutral units from any other faction. Here at planet number 1, we've got our, tried and true enraged Orcs, Snakebite Thug. They're fighting over Iridial, the Tricon healing planet, and if you take a look at these planet-type icons, it could be a rather quick game indeed today. But at planet number 1, we've got another new Necron faction unit. It is the Immortal Vanguard. 2-cost, 1 command icon 1/3, and each non-Necron warrior unit at its planet gets +1 attack and +1 hit point. Having taken an opportunity to assess Guy's deck prior to today's match, he's running a lot of warriors along the lines of Snakebite Thug, Evil Sun's Warbiker, and he's also got Mandragore and Immortals in this deck to synergize with soldiers like the Imperial Fist Siege Force. So, because he wanted to get a non-Necron faction unit out onto the table, he tossed the Imperial Fists out to planet number 4, and much to his dismay, a Sanctioned Psyker has been the response. So 2 command icons definitely trumps 1, and now we've just got these 2 Necron units at the first planet. Nahumekh is only going to be able to do a -1 hit point until the end of the phase reduction, and against a 5 HP Enraged Orc and a 4 HP Snakebite Thug, that's not exactly going to be the most beneficial effect in the world here. Our Orc doesn't have any combat tricks at his disposal. Looks like Nahumekh is going to go for 2 turrets Taurus, the planet that rewards you for having a lower unit count than your opponent, and even if we don't see Zogwort generate Snotlings tokens, it's likely that our Necron's going to be able to trigger that planet and presumably draw some additional resources for himself just to try to dig through his deck for all that synergy. But it's going to be command 1 at planets 1, 4, and 5. For Old Zogwort, he gets a total of 2 cards and 3 resources, and then our Necron dissimilarly just gets 1 card and 1 resource. So, Guy has got some very interesting cards in hand here. He's got 3 total copies of Gauss Flayer. For the cost of 1, you affix it to a Necron army unit, and you exhaust the attached unit to give a target enemy army unit -2 HP until the end of the phase. At planet number 1, that Snakebite Thug swung for 3. With initiative, it did manage to kill the Immortal Vanguard, which unfortunately was not doing anything to threaten any of the Zogwort-controlled units at that planet, and despite triggering its forced reaction to deal itself a point of damage, Iridial is going to be able to pull a point of damage off of the Snakebite Thug. So note that Zogwort has ineffectually generated a Snotlings token at his planet. He's going to be able to win Ossus 4 and contested. It's going to be +1 resource for Prince, -1 resource for Guy, and we're currently seeing our Necron that's about to capture Taurus. So he's got 3 units relative to Zogwart's 5, and let's see, is he going to go for cards or is he going to go for resources? He's got a big, frightening Necron Elite in hand. It's the Doomsday Ark. It's a 6-cost, 2-command icon, 5/5 with area effect equal to the number of non-Necron factions among units you control, and I guess Nahumekh is kind of hedging his bets and relying upon being able to affix these Gauss Flayers to some of his units. Like, if Nahumekh can subtract HP from a unit like Snakebite Thug, and then Gauss Flayer can be combined with Nahumek's ability, that is a huge HP reduction, and it basically works akin to unpreventable damage. But Glaive Guy went for resources instead of cards. There's not a lot of card draw on the table here, but if Nahumekh can relatively likely win Taurus again the following round, he's going to be able to win cards then. So I suppose we'll just have to see how things go for him. Parker's going to gain 1 resource, and Guy is going to lose 1 resource upon the battle ending here at Ossus 4. And note that we've seen 1 planet type icon of each kind added to Parker or Prince's victory display. But we go through our first HQ phase. As we enter deploy, note that Glaive Guy indicates that Orks are his chosen faction, and he happened to come across 2 spectacular units, but unfortunately these Gauss Flayers have to be attached to Necrons only. But he's got a copy of Snakebite Thug himself, and also an Evil Sun's Warbiker. He's got initiative at present, and the Warbiker will be able to attack for 4. So let's see what exactly happens here. We've got a copy of Recycle for the cost of 1. You discard 2 cards from hand and then draw 3 cards, so you can net improve the quality of your hand if you don't think Doomsday Ark is going to be doing any good for you. If you don't need this second Ork, you can go ahead and pitch that. It doesn't quite work as well for Nahumekh potentially as it does on Rakir the Traveler, just because there's so much less discard pile synergy from what we've seen thus far. But I suppose now is as good a time as any to just mention that we're using proxies in this video taken from the original Legions of Death reveal article, the Wake the Sleepers article, and the Enslave the Galaxy or Enslave the Masses article. So we don't probably even know half of the Legions of Death box. This is just to get a bit of a taste for how the Necrons are actually going to perform prior to their fully revealed state. So I was very impressed with On Rakir. In playtesting, I wasn't blown away by Nahumekh, but we'll have to see how he ends up performing in today's game. Destroyer Cultist at planet number 1 is going to pick up a copy of Gauss Flayer, so now it's going to be able to attack for 3 because we've got a Snakebite Thug, we've got we've got a Space Marines and an Ork unit, so it's attacking for 3, or it's doing a straight HP reduction of 2, which is cumulative over the course of multiple combat rounds, but it can only be used against enemy army units. So we'll have to see what all else happens. We've got 2 resources left for Guy, 4 resources for Parker. Parker's got a copy of Rock Bombardment, he's got a Battle Cry, and then Guy actually has fewer cards in hand than does Parker, but he's got a copy of Smash-A-Gun Battery, so if he tosses that out for the cost of 3, he can deal quite a bit of indirect damage during the deploy phase, so he can't use like Snotlings tokens to soak up this damage. But when you exhaust that support, it's both players deal an amount of indirect damage equal to the number of cards in their hand among all units they control. We've got a copy of Sanctioned Psyker tossed out to planet number 4, where sits a Snotlings token generated by the Weird Boy Stick, so as a forced reaction at the end of the combat phase, Zogwort destroys all Snotlings tokens that he controls, but then the Weird Boy Stick can process off of that effect and generate another Snotling token, which could sponge up a bit of damage from the Smash-A-Gun Battery up to 1 in any case. We've also got a copy of Frontline Ardboys in Parker's hand to, I guess, draw some fire away from Zogwort. And again, we didn't want to use a Tier 1 Warlord in these Necron preview videos, but considering just how soundly Anrakir the Traveler was able to curb stomp a rather Nurgle thematic Kugoth Plaguefather deck, we figured that for today's match, Parker might as well try something a fair bit more competitive. Zogwort unfortunately arrives at planet number 4, so he's going to be able to drain another resource from Glaive Guy's reserves, and it looks like Nahumekh has arrived at planet number 3. So Nahumekh at the beginning of combat is going to be able to pull 2 HP off of this Sanctioned Psyker, but Parker, who, as a rather stubborn New Yorker, not to stereotype, hates losing, it almost seems as though he's run a deliberately high HP value deck. So we'll have to see how things go, but during our command phase, Guy looks to have received 2 cards and 2 resources. Parker instead only gets 3 resources, but he's got 5 in total. That's enough for Battle Cry, and it's enough for Rock Bombardment. Looks like planet number 1, Taurus's battle ability is going to be activated. That's a total of 3 cards added to Glaive Guy's hand, and that's also going to be a strong point and material icon added to his victory display. So if either of our players manages to win the next 2 planets in a row, that is going to be the game for them. I guess Zogwart's set up reasonably kind of well at planet number 2, but, you know, Zogwart's Runt Herders, like, spoiler alert, if it is killed by HP reduction, then it's not going to be generating any Snotlings tokens, and the Enraged Orc, if you only have a unit at its planet that's not dealing it damage, it's just reducing its HP, then the Enraged Orc will have to retreat, or otherwise it'll, be forced to sit there attacking ineffectually for 0. But at the beginning of combat, as a reaction, this Sanctioned Psyker lost a couple of hit points, and then the Imperial Fist Siege Force was able to deal the killing blow, and that's a dead Sanctioned Psyker. We've got Aatrox Prime firing at planet number 1. That is going to be a damaged Enraged Orc, and that's going to be a copy of Battle Cry discarded to shield a Zogwart's Runt Herders. I suppose we wanted to make sure that it didn't take a point of damage just because Nahumekh or a Gauss Flare could have done the 2 points of HP reduction, and that would have been, you know, insta-kill right there, and generating a Snotlings token now would have only been destroyed by Old Zogwort. So Zogwort is going to win the battle at Ossus 4. That's going to be +1 resource for Parker, -1 resource for Guy. Zogwort destroys all the Snotlings tokens. The Weird Boy Stick processes another Snotlings token is going to be generated. We've gone through another HQ phase. Our final planet of the game is going to be Farron, the Rout, a non-Warlord unit planet, and it looks like Guy is about to eat shit for having the audacity and the balls of having 11 cards in hand relative to 4. Guy must be face-palming Captain Picard style right now because Smash-A-Gun Battery has hit the tabletop. Guy indicates Space Marines are his enslaved faction, and now Now, how exactly is Guy going to get himself out of this one? So he's definitely got some sturdy units when it comes to HP. Smash-A-Gun Battery is going to deal a lot of damage, but the Destroyer Cultist has got 4 hit points. The Snakebite Thug itself has 4 hit points, but something the Necron faction definitely lacks is 2 shield value options. They've got this event Reanimation Protocol, where as an action for free, you can remove 2 points of damage from a Necron faction unit you control, max 1 per round. But in regard to 2 shield cards, all we've had spoiled is Resurrection Orb, and unfortunately, I do not believe Guy's deck runs Resurrection Orb, which I say as if I didn't look at this deck immediately prior to booting up this game. Basically, what I'm saying is Guy does not have any 2 shield value cards in his deck. Both of our players are going to suffer the wrath of the Smash-A-Gun Battery. This is the first time on my channel that this effect is being resolved. So Parker is going to deal out 4 points of damage among units he controls. That's going to be a point of damage on Zogwort's Runt Herders, which is now susceptible to being, I guess, insta-gibbed by Nahumekh. It's going to be a point of damage on the Enraged Orc, and it's going to be 2 points of damage on Enraged Orc number 2. So we've got some identical twins there. Taking a look at our Necron player's hand, he's got another copy of a Necron card. It's the Mandragoran Immortals. So this is the Soldier Synergy card. Looks like Necrons can key off of soldiers, off of warriors. Note that we've got a lot of damage being distributed at the moment, but the Mandragoran Immortals are a 3-cost, 1-command icon, 2/3 with ranged, and you can sacrifice a non-Necron soldier unit at their planet in order to ready them. So that could be a Snakebite Thug with 3 points of damage that's exhausted. Truly, the options there are limitless. So we've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 points of damage assigned thus far, and we've still got another point of damage to assign. So that Smash-A-Gun Battery is just absolutely a devastating card, and things are looking pretty grim for our Necron player. If Nahumekh ends up bloodied, we've actually had his bloodied side fully spoiled when there was an early community member reveal of our regional championship kit prize support. We've seen the bloodied side of the Spot Gloss Nahumekh card. It's a 1/6. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, so I guess that was all of our damage dealt, unless I'm miscalculating, but yeah, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep, that's 10 out of the 10 points. We've now got Mandragoran Immortals at planet number 1, and we're going to be fighting over the planet Yavvarn. Both of our players are going to stand to derive benefit if this planet is indeed activated, and I guess we'll have to see what exactly Guy is going to do. Iridial is now gone, so Nahumekh isn't sitting too pretty at... You know, he's just got 2 HP remaining, but we've got a Space Marine, we've got an Orc in place, that's going to be a -2 hit point effect. Nahumekh could arrive at, say, planet number 5, immediately clear out the Void Pirate without any need to attack, and unfortunately, there's nothing along the lines of an Honored Librarian or some perfect target for Nahumekh to snipe. Note that our Orc player at present does have initiative, and we're seeing that Reanimation Protocol strip a couple of points of damage off of Nahumekh. I don't think that Guy has Harbinger of Eternity in his deck, but that's an elite, which allows you to use Necron events from your discard pile, albeit at the cost of paying their cost, and then subsequently removing them from the graveyard, from the discard pile. My Magic the Gathering years in high school are catching up with me, but this is max 1 per round, just like Primal Howl, so you can't go crazy when it comes to, repairing your Necrons. Those little scarabs, they're not miracle workers, but they do work relatively quickly. We've got a copy of Gauss Flayer, unfortunately affixed to a ranged unit, but what's cool is the Mandragoran Immortals can be readied if you sacrifice a non-Necron soldier, and because the Gauss Flayer isn't what's exhausting, it's the, unit, you could potentially do a double exhaust to do -2 plus Nahumekh, additional -2, and then the frontline Ardboys are killed, and then if Nahumekh is the only unit at this planet, the only Warlord unit at that planet, he's going to steal initiative, and we could see a dead. Runt Herders, truly the options are limitless. And even if you don't decide to clear out the frontline Ardboys, if you just get rid of the Enraged Orc or something along those lines, the Ardboys are only attacking for 2 anyway. But looks like both of our players are currently deciding where exactly they want to send their respective warlords. Note that Nahumekh is going to be riding dirty with a couple of fellows in his train. He's got his Destroyer Cultist, and he's also got a Snakebite Thug that's not practically dead, it's like half dead, traveling with him. I think I maybe said earlier that you could sacrifice the Snakebite Thug to the Mandragoran Immortals, but that is not the case. It's a warrior, not a soldier, so it's nice to see the distinction between those two traits delineated. Colonel Strachan gives +1 attack to warriors or soldiers, so it's just a very general and kind of blanketing effect, but it's nice to see a bit of difference between those two. Zogwart's going to show up at planet 2, and Nahumekh is going to arrive at planet number 1, so even though we did see a copy of Promotion, something told me that Nahumekh was going to show up at planet 1, just to do his HP reduction thing with the double effect of the Immortals. And what's really nice is, let me, I guess, talk command struggles first. So it's going to be 3 planets in the Void Pirate, 1 for Prince. It's going to be 2 cards and 5 resources, and I can't imagine that Nahumekh was going to feel too bad if he doesn't end up getting a lot of cards, but he only gets 1 resource, and that kind of sucks. Note that we don't have any combat tricks save for Rock Bombardment, though this is a red planet, so it could be all enemy units are going to take a point of damage each and every time after they attack, but, of course, if something like Mandragoran Immortals isn't exactly attacking, then that doesn't affect them. But let's see here. We've got combat about to break out. Nahumekh is going to drop 2 HP from the Zogwart's Runt Herders, so they are destroyed. Note that Zogwort generated a Snotlings token here for himself, but all he's got to do is clear out an Imperial Fist's Siege Force, and that's probably not going to be the most difficult thing that Zogwart's ever done, especially considering it's only got 1 hit point. So bear in mind, at the moment, our Necron faction is definitely hurting for shielding, despite the existence of reanimation protocols here. And at planet number 1, Nahumekh has initiative, so okay, so it's going to be, Guy indicates it is going to be a hit point reduction as a combat action, and Nahumekh is going to have a unit that can use area effect, but I'm really curious as to whether or not he's going to, throw away a tactical squad Cardenas. He may choose to do so to ready the Mandragoran Immortals, just because if they deal a point of damage to each of these units, that could be a pretty interesting effect. And talk about channel firsts. This is the first time I've ever seen Rock Bombardment played. So, you target a planet until the end of the battle. After each enemy unit attacks, it is dealt a point of damage. And it looks like we may not see battle last for too long, but considering this is red, it indeed only affects enemy units. Tactical Squad Cardenas, I would imagine, is going to resolve its area effect ability, which does not count as an attack, but it actually looks like I spoke too soon. Evil Sun's Warbiker swings for 4, and that is going to be a dead frontline Ardboys. So the Tactical Squad Cardenas has yet to attack. Are we going to see... Okay, I guess that's the Enraged Orcs swinging for 2 at the Mandragoran Immortals. I was curious as to whether or not we'd see the Tac Squad sacrifice to ready the Immortals so it could do its HP reduction thing in case the Tac Squad was attacked, but our Necron players only got a couple of 1-value shield cards in hand, so the Mandragoran Immortals has taken 2 points of damage, and it's looking like this is going to be a rather difficult match if Nahumekh is going to be able to win this one at all. So, Guy, it's looking like he's almost assuredly going to be able to win this planet, but if he does, he's going to have to set himself up at a location where he can win the game here. So he'd have to set himself up at our planet number 2. That would be another win for him through red icons, or otherwise he'd have to just really reassess his victory conditions. So Tactical Squad Cardenas is resolving area effect. Let me go ahead and say Tac Squad didn't attack. doesn't take damage, smiley face. So just because we want to make sure that Nahumekh has got the best chance he's got, but that is the Enraged Orc destroyed. So let's see. Yeah, Nahumekh took a swing. Well, okay, I guess Guy thinks that if the targeted planet, so resolves an attack, I'm going to go ahead and disagree with both of our players. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's fine. I guess if they want to gang up against me, that's fine. Anyways, I don't think it's an attack, it's an ability. Area effect does not count as an attack, but what do I know? I'm just an enthusiast, I'm not an expert. So, Yvarn is going to be triggered, both of our players are going to put something into play. We see the Doomsday Arc, and we see the Frontline Ardboys. Both of these are going to be showing up to combat exhausted, but the Doomsday Arc is a 5/5 with currently area effect 2, but that's going to be great, set up at a victory condition, possible victory condition for Nahumekh, and the Frontline Ardboys, even though they show up exhausted, they're still going to be able to soak a large amount of enemy firepower. What's really going to suck, though, is this Smash-A-Gun battery is going to deal a lot of damage to Glaive Guy, and I guess we'll just have to see how much it ends up doing to Prince. Prince is not going to have initiative, so he's not going to be able to use the Smash-A-Gun battery as his first action. But yeah, Zogwart's Snotling token manages to kill the Imperial Fist's Siege Force, and now we've got Aatrox Prime firing at the Necron player's HQ, and this definitely hurts. So we see a copy of Recycle discarded to save the Mandragoran Immortals from being killed. The Tactical Squad Cardenas is apparently killed. I'll be very curious to hear in the comments and to look up after this match as to whether or not area effect counts as an attack. I could have sworn there was a big giant ruling about how, area effect does not count as an attack. But, again, doesn't matter. I guess, well, area effect is still while the unit is attacking, so maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, I should just stop talking about it. So, we're going through our HQ phase. Each of our players has gotten 2 new cards, 4 new resources. All of a sudden, I'm thinking I'm wrong about that area effect rule, and I feel like an idiot. Planet number 1, again, is going to be Aatrox Prime. This could likely be the victory condition planet for our Necron player if he can somehow survive this Smash-A-Gun battery. Parker does not have much in the way of being able to put any units at the first planet, and that may well end up being his downfall, but let's see what exactly happens. Guy chooses Space Marines with his enslavement dial, and I frankly kind of imagine that we're going to see the Smash-A-Gun battery trigger. A lot of these units are going to end up being killed, and then at planet number 1, where Nahumekh has initiative, we're going to see Parker fail to put sufficient bodies out to deal with whatever our Necron player is going to be able to toss out from hand. So we've got Smash-A-Gun battery being resolved again, and I guess we'll just have to see how it ends up being resolved here. My apologies again about rock bombardment, because now I stand thoroughly convinced that area effect is, the unit is considered, like, Armor Bane works during area effect because the unit is still considered to be during their attack window, so maybe it's fine. But anyways, we've got the Tactical Squad Cardenas, freshly played, that's taken 2 points of damage, but it was a total of 5 points of damage that Guy had to deal. So because we've got the initiative for Guy, I believe technically he has to assign the damage first, but I don't think it's going to matter too much. We've now got a dead Snakebite Thug. I can't really follow which unit is picking up damage because, as you can see from our chat log, we've got, the names of these cards that we're proxying, so the Snakebite Thug looks like there's a little bit of a take back there for our Necron player. Nahumekh is just at 1 HP remaining, but really all he has to do is show up at the planet as a body to trigger his reaction to presumably kill or weaken an enemy unit until the end of the phase, and then who cares if our Necron ends up being bloodied, because if he's going to end up winning the game that round, then it scarcely matters. Looks like Guy is going to be moving all of his damage to the Doomsday Arc, which is a bit of a shame that we're not going to see it doing area effect 2, and it's also a shame that I forget what other faction Guy is running in his deck, but it's just a damn shame that we're not seeing his third Sprinkle faction, just so that the Doomsday Arc could do area effect 3 and just deal a tremendous amount of damage out to our Orc player. We've got Crush Face, we've got a Teleportapad, which could move the Enraged Orc or the Snakebite Thug. We've also got Battle Cry, which could definitely spell disaster for our Necron, but a lot of this is going to come down to, we'll just have to see how everything goes. I think this could be either player's game relatively easily. At planet number 1, we've got a Canoptech Scarab Swarm, a 2/2 drone, no command icons, and it only costs 1. When it's destroyed, you can return a Necron unit from your discard pile to your hand. It's really fantastic with either of our warlords, and interestingly, we've got an Imperial Fist's Siege Force now tossed out at planet 4. So is Guy going to go to planet number 1, or is he instead going to go to planet number 2? I'm thinking he's probably going to have to risk everything to go to planet 2, unless, like, let's see, Zogwart's only got a green and a blue and a red icon, so if he picks up another red, I guess that Guy could go to planet number 3 and just set all of these units up for the following round, but is he going to go for 1 or is he going to go for 3? It seems like it would be suicide. Potentially suicide to show up at planet number 2, just because Aatrox Prime would fire off at him, and it looks like both of our players are indeed going to be going to planet number 1, despite Nahumekh not revealing his dial here. So the Imperial Fist Siege Force had routed that Void Pirate. The Void Pirate arrives at planet number 1. We've got 1 command icon relative to 2 command icons, and that means that Void Pirate is going to end up winning command for our Necron. But what exactly are we going to see here? This is going to be 2 planets and a Void Pirate for Parker, so he gets 2 cards and 3 resources, and then all we're going to see for our Necron is going to be a rather ineffectual 2 resources. So Parker's got 7 resources in total. He's got Battle Cry, which affects Snotling's tokens. Note that we saw another Snotling token generated when Zogwort arrived at that planet. We've got a Rock Bombardment, and this is a red planet. We've also got Suppressive Fire, which could be used to exhaust this Canoptech Scarab Swarm. But do note that Nahumekh has the initiative, so we could see the Scarab Swarm use its combat action prior to Suppressive Fire. Nahumekh, at the very beginning of combat, as a reaction to the onset of the combat phase, that's going to be -2 HP for the frontline Ardboys, and also bear in mind this Teleportapad is going to be able to move the Snakebite Thug or the 3 attack 2 hit point remaining Enraged Orc to this planet as well. With initiative, we see the Canoptech Scarab Swarm exhaust. That's going to be -4 HP on that frontline Ardboys. The Tactical Squad Cardenas is going to be able to resolve Area Effect 1, but we're just going to see a mountain of punishment go out to our Necron player, and thanks to Battle Cry, I don't frankly think there's going to be any way that Nahumekh is going to be able to survive through this first combat round for these 3, this power trio of units, this Triforce of units, as it were, to ready, and then as combat actions, you can just dispatch, you could get rid of Crush Face, who maybe took a point of damage from area effect. We've got a Snotling token being exhausted to Suppressive Fire that Tactical Squad Cardenas, and now the pain train is about to run all over Nahumekh. So let's see here. Nahumekh is going to be able to deliver 1 attack with his Warlord, and then it's going to be I guess, one ticket to Pound Town, and the name printed upon that ticket is going to be Nahumekh. So let's see how this all ends up going. I would have loved to see our Necron perform a little bit better, but, Nahumekh is not playing with a full card pool. Need I remind you, it's just Nahumek's reveal article, the Onrakir the Traveler reveal article, and the Legions of Death reveal article. So the entire point of these proxy matches was to give you a little sprinkling and taste of what the possible Necron playstyle happens to be. Certainly the HP reduction is powerful, and I think these Gauss Flayers are going to be a rather useful card. So Rock Bombardment is just discarded, and that means the frontline Ardboys lives to sponge up another attack, and now this is where we see a lot of hurt dealt out to the Necrons. So I can only imagine we'll see Teleportapad bring one of these units to planet number 1, and then Battle Cry, perhaps after Zogwort attacks, or maybe before Zogwort attacks. Yeah, before Zogwort attacks, that's Battle Cry. That is each Orc unit, regardless of what planet they're at, they each get +2 attack. I guess that's why I was thinking about Teleportapad. I forgot that it's not Battle Cry is not target a planet, so each of these Orc units, not the Sanctioned Psyker, but every other unit, and not the Void Pirate, is going to be able to attack for at least 3, so the Snotlings tokens are 3/1s, Crush Face is a 4/3, Zogwort is currently a 3/6, and he generates another 1/1 token every time he attacks, and then the frontline Ardboys, even though they're maybe not going to live long enough to attack, they're going to be able to swing for 4 if they do have an opportunity, and this is a whole hell of a lot of exhausted fellows. So Glaive Guy calls out a because in assessing his hand, which is devoid of events, it's devoid of shields, it doesn't seem like he has a whole lot of options available to him. The Doomsday Ark can't do anything. We see the Tactical Squad Cardenas being destroyed, courtesy of the Mandragoran Immortals, and now they're going to have another opportunity to, I suppose, attack at ranged, because we haven't had a traditional attack yet, or instead they could just exhaust themselves to finish off the frontline Ardboys, and I can only imagine, yep, that's probably exactly what we're going to see. As another combat action, they're going to get rid of that Orc unit. So the Gauss Flare is going to drop it down to 0 HP, and that 5 hit point unit is going to be gone without any opportunity to have been shielded, and Parker's only got 1 lone copy of Promotion remaining in his hand to potentially shield anything with. So let's see how things are going to go here. Guy doesn't really have any tricks remaining. Crush Face swings at the Doomsday Ark. It is going to be destroyed. Goodbye, Necrons Faction Elite. Area Effect 2 unfortunately did not get to be used. And now what all else are we going to see from our Orcs faction player at this point? The game is basically going to be his. That is going to be Mandragoran Immortals and the Gauss Flare discarded, thanks to a Snotling token attacking for 3. I guess even if it would have attacked for 1, it still would have been a kill. And now we can see Old Zogwort swing for 3, potentially kill off this Scarab Swarm or anything else, and then the Snotling token he generates is going to be able to attack for 1 and then deal the bloodying blow to Nahumekh. So we've got the Destroyer Cultist that is ruined, and I guess we see another token from Zogwort. So why don't I just say Snotling's token from attacking? We've got to make sure to generate that. Want to give Zogwort a fighting chance, and looks like maybe Guy already had one in, or Prince already had one in play, so my mistake there. Teleportapad is now going to move. Is it going to be the Enraged Orc? Yes, it's the Enraged Orc, and now it's going to be able to attack for 5. I can only imagine that is going to be directed at the Canoptech Scarab Swarm. Nope, it's going to be directed at Nahumekh, so that is definitely overkill right there, but Nahumekh, spoiler alert, this is a proxy match, match, Nahumekh is going to be bloodied. So do remember that he's actually a 1/6 warlord. We're just using the Baharoth Proxy card as a bit of a substitution there. And now we've got a Snotlings token that's going to be directing an attack of 1 at a Snakebite Thug. So the Snakebite Thug is going to be killed, and now it's just this Canoptech Scarab Swarm. So what exactly are we going to see? We come to the end of combat, and our Necron player still has initiative. He can either retreat with his Scarab Swarm, or otherwise he can just stay at this planet. If he does his HP reduction, he could guarantee a kill of Void Pirate, and apart from that, he can't really... Well, he could also have guaranteed the kill of the Enraged Orc, which may not have been the terrible idea there. But Aatrox Prime is going to fire, since Zogwort won that planet. It's a point of damage to the Canoptech Scarab Swarm, and that's a point of damage to Nahumekh. I'll just say, remember that Nahumekh bloodied is a 1/6, and that brings us through another HQ phase. So as Zogwort returns to his HQ, he destroys all of his Snotlings tokens. The Weird Boy stick is going to generate a Snotling token at any planet he would like. And now let's see here. We go through another HQ phase. Both of our players gets 4 resources and 2 cards, and Guy is sitting at 2 red, 2 green, and 1 blue icon. Glaive Guy calls out Orks for his enslaved faction. He's got this Evil Sun's Warbiker, and here's his third sample faction. He's dabbling in Astra Militarum, so he's got a copy of Talarn Raiders in his deck. He's also got some Sakhalem Shrine Guard in here, and we're Nahumekh not bloodied, all 3 of those factions being in play at once would have allowed him to do a -3 HP reduction effect, which would have been staggeringly powerful. But again, we've got Smash-A-Gun Battery being resolved. That is 4 points of damage. The initiative token is with Zogwort, so he can use that as his first action. It's 4 points of damage to our Orc player, and it looks like the Imperial Fist Siege Force is going to be outright killed. The Canoptech Scarab Swarm is nearly killed, and Nahumekh himself is, let's see, okay, so the Scarab Swarm is going to be destroyed. We're going to be able to return a Necron unit from Guy's discard pile to his hand, and we'll have to see what he picks of those when they're destroyed, but the Imperial Fist Siege Force is looking like it's going to be dead as well. It's looking like Parker has 1 green, 2 blue, and 2 red icons, so he's going to have to win Planet 1 and 2 to be able to win this game, but the instant he does that, that's going to be a victory for him. He could easily set up Zogwort at Planet number 2. Even a single attack is going to be able to kill Nahumekh, potentially, and Zogwort can deploy relatively heavily to planets 2 and 3, and then if he needs to, he can use Teleportapad to shift an Orc to planet number 1, giving him a nice wide threat range here. So it looks like Parker is still assigning his damage. Guy is in the process of, he decided to return the Doomsday Arc to his hand, which is very interesting. It's only going to have area effect 0 because this Imperial Fist Siege Force is going to be dead. But maybe for the following turn, Nahumekh might be able to do something decent. Like if we've got, let's say, Evil Sun's Warbiker at 2, and then the following round we've got Talarn Raiders at 2, then the Doomsday Arc could do area effect 2 with initiative. So even though Nahumekh probably isn't going to end up winning this one, that will be a large volume of damage being dealt out to our Orcs, and things could end up going reasonably well for Nahumekh, even though he's going to have to dodge battle at each and every just possibility to do so. And I guess it is worth saying that the Doomsday Arc, no matter what, is a 5/5, so it's not as though it's entirely useless. And until then, we do have the Mandragoran Immortals, which could attack for 3. We've got the Evil Sun's Warbiker, which could attack for 4. We've got another copy of the Canoptech Scarab Swarm, and now I can only imagine that Nahumekh is indeed going to set himself up at planet number 2. So the Scarab Swarm is no command icons, but if Nahumekh shows up there, he'll draw a couple of cards. which will hurt him unless he chooses not to draw them deliberately, which he does have the choice to do so, but that Smash-A-Gun battery is just absolutely ruining Nahumekh. At planet number 1, we see another copy of Zogwart's Runt Herders, and I feel like that might be overkill just in the context of Teleportapad being able to shift units. But remember, we've got another copy of Battlecry, and that is definitely going to spell disaster for our Zogwort player. And what exactly is Guy going to do? He's enslaved orcs, so he could do the Warbiker, he could do the Mandragoran Immortals. That would be, I guess, all of his remaining resources, and then he wouldn't have enough the following turn for the Doomsday Arc. But instead, we've got the Evil Sun's Warbiker at 3. Parker decides to pass, and now we've got the Mandragoran Immortals positioned at planet 2. So I can only imagine that Zogwort is probably not going to go to planet number 1. He might go to planet 3, but then he's got to deal with the swing from the Evil Sun's Warbiker. If he goes to planet number 2, he's going to have to deal with both of these units. Nahumekh will be at that well, I guess, where might Nahumekh go? Nahumekh may go to planet number 1 just to deny a couple of resources to Parker and then retreat straight away. That doesn't seem like the worst idea in the world. Or we might see Nahumekh go to Theron. But I suppose I'll just be curious to see. Alright, so Zogwort does decide to go to planet number 2, and Nahumekh does indeed decide to go to planet number 1 for the resource denial and then retreating as soon as is possible. That's going to be 2 planets won by Nahumekh. It's going to be a total of 4 resources for our Necron, which is going to be great for his Doomsday Arc, and he will have at least an Evil Sun's Warbiker in play, and he'll have enough resources for the Talon Raiders and the Doomsday Arc, so it will have area effect too. Parker got a Rogue Trader, he got a copy of Weird Boy Maniac, which is going to hurt, especially in conjunction with the Smash-A-Gun battery. It's almost as though that was a careful deck-building combo right there, and things are just looking to hurt a whole hell of a lot for Nahumekh. So what exactly are we seeing here? Yeah, so do bear in mind that Nahumekh is bloodied, so we're not going to be able to see him do really anything. Old Zogwort is actually going to be moving to planet number 1, and that is a very devious effect because the initiative token is in the possession of our Orks player, and before we go to combat, the Teleportapad has a combat action opportunity. We see Battle Cry. That means that this Snakebite Thug is going to be able to attack for 5. That is going to be Nahumekh taking 5 points of damage, and unfortunately the Doomsday Arc was unable to be played at all because Nahumekh is going to be destroyed, and that is going to be victory to Parker by means of Warlord death. So GG, good game. It all ends right there. Looks like Nahumekh, our second to be revealed, but first to be fully spoiled. Necrons faction Warlord was unfortunately not able to win in the end against a rather competitive build of Old Zogwort. But again, I just want to bring your attention to the fact that Nahumekh was playing with probably around half of the Necron cards he'll eventually have access to once Legions of Death is fully spoiled in its entirety. So this was just a proxy preview match to give a bit of a taste for how Nahumekh and the Necron faction as a whole may function and play. I certainly enjoyed today's match. I thank you for watching it with me, and of course, a tremendous thanks to both Guy and Parker for humoring me and to help me produce this proxy preview style video in the first place. As always, thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this content, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel if you've not done so already, or if you are already subscribed, as ever, you're encouraged to share this content, because the more viewers there are that end up stumbling upon these videos, the more people end up exposed to Conquest. They may give the game a try, enjoy what they experience, someday join our community, and of course, all together we continue to send the message to Fantasy Flight Games, telling them to continue to develop and support this fantastic product. If at any point you'd like to get in touch with me, I would encourage you to do so through Facebook or on Twitter, and if you ever feel inclined to help support the Hive Tyrant, I would be absolutely honored, humbled, and deeply appreciative were you to consider making a donation to my Patreon. But, as always, thank you so much for watching, and, once again, be sure to check back in again soon for much more Conquest LCG content to come.